Hi, I'm U.S America Shahri is here with one other episode of Dark Theory USA. I'm here to talk about the President Trump tour to Middle East and what happened over there and what it means for us Americans and what's going to happen based on that. Like in following days, what to expect based on what happened over there. So basically, let me read it from the White House website. It's whitehouse.gov. It's the title, the article is "What They Are Saying: Trillions in Great Deals Secured for America Thanks to President Trump." May 16, 2025 means yesterday, President Donald J. Trump's first official trip was a huge success, looking in over 2 trillion in great deals, including 600 billion investment commitment from Saudi Arabia, 1.2 trillion economic exchange agreements with Qatar, 243.5 billion in U.S Qatar commercial and defense deals, and 200 billion in U.S United Arab Emirates commercial deals. President Trump's historic collaboration with these Middle Eastern nations not only strengthened America's economy, but also fosters greater safety and stability in the region, Middle East of course, paving the way for a more prosperous and secure future. The companies securing these landmark deals are grateful for the Trump administration's leadership and the economic climate President Trump has fostered to make these agreements possible. And later in this article goes into detail U.S. Saudi Arabia deals and shows everything like what happened over there. So into detail what each one of them, like when they said, for example, $200 billion in commercial deal, what are they? So in detail, it talks about that, and you can go to the White House official website, gov.gov. And explain, and I think that's very good thing, so people know that, because it's always like 2 trillion. People think 2 trillion means that just President Trump got $2 trillion cash in the bags and put it in the Air Force One and then came back to the United States. But this one in detail shows exactly how it was spent and what was the deal about. And this transparency, I think it helps people to know that what to expect, especially if you are doing a stock trading, or you want to have investment on market. It is actually good guidance to show you what to invest, where to invest, because based on when you see those large private companies, they come in here and probably, like for example, if I'm not mistaken, Qatar or Emirates, they say that they want to buy hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA chips, semiconductor or the chips. They want to buy that, and that's very necessary for them, because they want to have, like basically they want to have they want to be the second San Francisco, let's put it that way, tech city. And so that the stock market for the NVIDIA is going to be good with those high purchases. Anyway, the reason that I don't need to go into detail, it's so long, you can go read it by yourself. I just want to show you around $2 trillion deals President Trump secured, and he's on his way back to United States. I think he's already here, because today that was his last day in Emirates. First he went to the Saudi Arabia, and then Qatar, and then Emirates. A couple of big things happen, and then I'm going to talk about that, what it means for us. One of them was he was supposed to be in Turkey with Zelensky and Putin and talk about the peace deal between them. But since he was in his Middle Eastern tour, so he didn't get to there. And he said Putin won't participate if I'm not there. And actually that's true, because other than without Trump, it's just a talk. And I think Zelensky also is not going to show up because it's degrading for him if a same person as his position like Putin doesn't show up. So Zelensky won't show up either. But of course, like in following weeks, they're gonna have another meeting. It's super easy. Hopefully when they are talking on the same table, it means they are getting closer to the deal. And Zelensky, I think today or yesterday, was talking about basically swapping all the hostages as a good sign, good faith, to show like a first step to have the permanent ceasefire. And also, unfortunately, the war still is going on in Gaza, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has decided to go full stroke, with full scale, completely, we call it operation, mission, invasion, whatever you want to call it, goes there and block to block, street to street, to basically get rid of every member of Hamas. I don't know if they can do it or not. And the bombing and the invasion started because also, if I'm not mistaken, Israel had hundreds of thousands soldiers in reserve, and they were all called. So just to that what to expect in last 18 months between Hamas and Israel, the war that was there, only I think 100,000 reserve soldiers were called to come and put the uniform on and participate in the war. But right now, it's basically 400,000, something like that. They are going back. It's a lot. You might say, how is it possible 400,000 for the country that has only 10 million population? Well, because, I mean, that's Charlie Kirk's word. He said when you go there, like you see IDF soldiers that are 13 years old with a gun in their hands, and basically every other civilian that you see in Israel, one of them probably is IDF. I don't know, this is what I hear. I don't know that much about how it works over there, but the way Charlie Kirk was in PBD podcast was talking, he was saying like there are many IDF, like it's not like there are, like, like every other country that you see, there are few people that are in army and the rest they are just normal civilian. But I think because Israel, since its beginning of its creation, 1948, was involved with neighbor countries, so I guess it's something like everybody should be like, I think the second job, some people, they have second job like as Uber or DoorDash. The second job for Israel is being in IDF, and so they are called, and I think we have to expect full-scale invasion, full-scale battle, war, and hopefully it's going to be bloody. But what does it have to do with President Trump's tour in the Middle East? You have to know two things. One of them is because of Mohammed bin Salman, Prince of Saudi Arabia, he asked President Trump, he was lobbying if he could lift off all those sanctions toward Syria, so Syria could have second chance. And he did that in the forum in Riyadh that happened. Then President Trump was talking, and he said that I'm going to lift all the sanctions because of Mohammed bin Salman was talking to me. And not only that, but also with Jolani, Ahmad al-Shar, something like that is his name. He had a small meeting, brief meeting with him as well. Like Jolani, bin Salman, and Trump, they have a picture together right next to each other. And the irony of that is, I saw the even article on the website that they put $10 million award for finding Jolani. So basically, if he said to Pete Hegseth from the other room, hey, Pete, come in here and arrest this guy, Trump would get $10 million from his own administration, from his own government. So I'm saying, like, they put $10 million only for Jolani. Like, that's crazy right now. Not only it's okay, but in front of President of United States, you are having negotiation, and then he was desperately needing these sanctions being lifted off, and even he said, I'm okay with normalizing relationship with Israel. Even though Saudi Arabia hasn't said that, and even Trump apparently in his defense contract back in the day, one of the conditions in order to have defense contract with Saudi Arabia was if they normalize relation with Israel. But right now, Trump is not even asking for that. And going back to the conversation, the war in Gaza, Israel apparently again for the fourth time in last 100 days in President Trump's administration time, they were surprised because they were not aware that Trump wanted to lift off the sanctions. So I guess President Trump is sending a message to Israel and Netanyahu, like, I don't need to update myself, manage my decision with you. You later on gonna find out from the news, just like any other country. And that's basically what happened. Like, I think the ceasefire with the Houthis was also a surprise for Israel. Israel didn't know that. And also the Israeli American IDF soldier citizen who got released, that was last American hostages in Hamas hands. He got released prior to President Trump's tour to Middle East, actually a few days ago, and Israel didn't know that either, that America was talking directly with Hamas. And some people, they had different type of feeling. Some people, they say you have to be happy finally last American hostage was released, but some people, they said no, it was a surprise. America shouldn't have talked directly to Hamas, but whatever. So Israel is getting surprised one after the other. He said, are we gonna do that anyway? We're gonna go to the Gaza and finish the job. And by finishing the job means from the top, they're gonna keep coming bottom. And look, again, as long as the Egypt has the border closed, and they're gonna be squeezed into the border with Egypt, and if they are saying Hamas is using human shield or whatever they are saying, they're gonna again come down. It's gonna be bloodbath. So President Trump said two things. One of them today, actually a few hours ago, like 10 hours ago in Emirates, because there's a time difference between in here United States and in Middle East. And he said to a journalist when he was next to Emirates Khalifa, king, or whatever you're gonna call it, he said, I'm gonna help people in Gaza, Palestinian, because they're suffering. And when I was in Saudi Arabia, they asked me, please help Palestinian. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, they are starving. And I know that a few days ago, President Trump in the Air Force One, prior to his trip to the Middle East, he said, we're gonna take care of Gaza, we're gonna be good to Gaza, we're gonna be nice, people are suffering over there, we're gonna give them medicine and food. But still apparently there is a blockade and nobody can get there, nobody can send the food over there. And President Trump said in next days you're gonna hear some good news. And I don't know if they want to force Israel to let food gets in, or they want to force Israel to not go on the full-scale war invasion into Gaza. So we have to see. But also President Trump said that both in the forum in Riyadh and also a couple of other times in Qatar and also Emirates, but especially in Qatar, because in Qatar he said this Amir is Qatar. Amir Qatar is basically king of Qatar. He said Iran should be very thankful to them because so many people, they are whispering to my ears like to go attack nuclear facilities of Iran. But Amirs of Qatar kept asking to not to do so and just try to be diplomatic. And one of the main reasons that I'm not doing that, besides that, he prefers diplomacy. It was Qatar, because it was asking, if you attack them, they're gonna attack other countries, and then our country is gonna get destroyed. Because Tucker Carlson had interview with Foreign Minister of Qatar, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, if America or Israel, whatever, if they attack nuclear facility of Iran, one of them is right into the Persian Gulf. One of them is Hormuz Strait, I think, next to the, in the river, in the strait, next to the Qatar, and the radioactive, those chemical thing gonna be hazardous chemical gonna be leaked into the Hormuz Strait, and Qatar gonna lose access to water completely, and their water gonna shut down because it's gonna be toxic. The water gonna be toxic. It says, you attack Iran, we gonna get damaged, so please don't do that. And this is what the Foreign Minister of Qatar said to Tucker Carlson. I think this is exactly what the concern of Qatar, Amir of Qatar was when he was talking with President Trump. He was saying, like, bro, if you do it, it's going to be very dangerous for us. And he said, I'm trying diplomacy. And also in the Riyadh, he mentioned that they sent the packages of the deal, the suggestion, the offer to Iran, and Iran is running out of the time, and they better decide quickly. And I think that's a very good leverage for President Trump, because because all the neocons and Israel want to go to war, and it's kind of put the pressure on Iran to say that Trump is trying diplomacy, because if we say no to him, what's going to happen is, like, he's going to say to the world, look, I tried my best to be peaceful, to go with negotiation, with a peaceful deal, make a deal with Iran, and I kept giving them promises that they're gonna open the door to the open markets for Iran gonna join the open world market, and we're gonna lift off all the sanctions, they're gonna make Iran great again. Basically, a couple of times I hear President Trump mention that slogan for Iran, and says, I want them to be prosperous, I want them to be rich, to be happy. I said they just cannot have nuclear bomb. And Iran, that was Ayatollah's fatwa, it is illegal, it's haram to have nuclear bomb anyway, nuclear weapon anyway. And so basically it says, I gave all those good promises, good offers, they rejected, and then so I had to do what I had to. So basically it's like Iran says, if by any chance they attack us, what's going to happen? America says, President Trump says, Iran says, if they attack us, we don't have any excuse. Nobody gonna have sympathy with us. Everyone gonna say Trump gave you offer, kept asking you, and kept pushing, kept resisting to not have fight with you, but you lost the chance. So I think that's a very good card to play with, to put the pressure on Iran. Iran says, oh, if they attack us, whole world gonna stand with America, because they say America kept asking for a good deal, but they rejected, so they got what they asked for. So it's going to be good leverage as long as we don't go to the war. So it's going to be hopefully something good, because war is bad. Everybody going to get killed. And I mean, Ben Shapiro and so many other people, they're going to say, oh, it's not going to drag us to another war. It's not going to be catastrophic. It's not going to be full-scale war. Listen, they said that about the Gaza. They said about the Syria. They said about the Afghanistan. They said about the Iraq. How many more times do you want these experts have been there, as Douglas Murray says, been there, made a mistake? How many times they said that, oh, just like the COVID, imagine Democrats, 2 weeks to hit the curve, to get to the curve, 2 weeks curve, 2 weeks curve, that 2 weeks to 2 years, basically. Same in here, like it's not the first time that we're going to be full, and then war is not something good for any side. So if we can get it done with the deal, we can dismantle nuclear program of Iran with negotiation, then why not? Then why do we need to risk the war? So he said that even though Iran denied that they ever received any letter, Abbas Araghchi said that, but every time they said they denied, United States doesn't lie, Iran lies, right? So if President Trump says that I sent a letter, it means he sent the letter, no matter what they deny or not, and for sure they have received the letter. They said we send them letter is a full package of the offer, so they don't have that much time, and he mentioned the new forum in Riyadh that I'm waiting for the answer, and hopefully a good thing gonna happen. So it means President Trump, even though we Jacksonian plus those Jeffersonian, we are isolationists, we don't want to have anything to do with the world, we want to focus inside, but it's not a bad thing to have the good deal, good trade with the rest of the world, especially like, venture capitalists like JD Vance, like Elon Musk, they want to have trade with the world. And somebody like me, a Jacksonian, I prefer to, even if we close the door, close the border to the world and just focus on inside, I think we're gonna be okay. We don't need the world needs us. I'm Jacksonian, nationalist Jacksonian, so I'm a little different. But I understand like it's not a bad thing. In Middle East we have influence over there, they're gonna listen to us and we're gonna have the deal. And also he secured $2 trillion deal in 3 days traveling in Middle East. Is nothing bad as long as he brings job to United States, he doesn't eliminate American jobs. I totally welcome that, and I'm so happy President Trump did that. That was a win for him, and it's going to be good on his resume. But we have to see what's going to happen in Middle East with Gaza and also Iran, because everything can go south from now on. But so far it was a good thing, and we have to wait until we see that what's going to be the response to that letter that President Trump sent to them. And what Iran gonna say that hopefully they accept our package or offer, and hopefully President Trump end the blockade and let the medicine and food flow into the Gaza, and because people really are facing a famine, they're in phase 1 of starvation, and hopefully the bloodbath come to end, because also we have to see what was the fruition of that deal, the hostages deal, because those 33 hostages in the phase 1 of the ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, that Steven Witkoff did that in the beginning, as soon as President Trump got elected into the office. That time 33 hostages got released by Hamas in order to, so they had the phase 1 peace deal, right? But this time Hamas didn't get anything. They just said that please release these hostages so we know that you have the good faith, and Hamas did that with no expectation, nothing in return. So we're gonna see that what America wants to do that in order to answer that. I'm not saying favor, because those hostages shouldn't have been kept in the first place. But we have to see what America are gonna do that in return, and they're gonna talk with Israel, because basically barely in any of those interviews or conversation that President Trump had in any of those conferences, either Saudi Arabia, Emirates, or UAE, or even Qatar, that was barely Israel's name was mentioned, or Netanyahu. Trump didn't talk about that, only talk about Arabs and Middle East and Islamic world. He talked about Iran way more than he talked about Israel. So we're gonna see what is going on actually behind the scenes, because some people, they believe that it was kind of just like act by President Trump. He says, if I'm bestie with Netanyahu, it's not gonna look good when I'm going to Middle East, especially since I'm gonna make the $2 trillion deal. So some people, they are saying he was acting, there is something between them, but behind the scene they are all managed and working tightly together. But we have to see. So he just came back to White House, to DC, Washington DC. He's on a plane in Air Force One. Of course, not with the new Air Force One that Qatar wanted to give as a gift, $400 billion worth, basically Boeing Air Force One gift that Qatar wanted to give to President Trump. Not that one, the regular one, the old one. But we have to see next week what's going to happen. because for sure soon we're gonna have the negotiation between Russia and Ukraine, and also we're gonna see what happened with Gaza. But because President Trump said we're gonna make some decision, we're gonna do something accordingly, and also Iran wants to respond. So definitely it's gonna be crazy time. I hope nothing goes south. Hopefully, if we knock the wood, pray to God, hopefully everything goes well and there will be peace in the not only Middle East but into the world. And let's hope up. But these, at least so far, those conversations they had in Middle East looked promising. Looked like President Trump is determined. He has clear vision what he wants to do with Middle East and also with America. And apparently, people who were pressuring to the war, they are in the corner, and people who were advocating for the peace or diplomacy right now, they have the higher hand in Trump's administration. Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching. Like always, as above, so below.